Welcome, everyone. We're about to dive into the fundamentals of clinical nutrition. My goal here is to give you a solid overview of all the core material you're going to need for your studies. So, yeah, let's get right into it.
Okay, before we jump into all the science, I want you to just remember this one core idea. What we eat directly impacts our health. It can be the deciding factor in preventing disease. Poor nutrition can make people sick, while good nutrition is just absolutely essential for a healthy life. It's that simple and that important.
So, here's our game plan. We're going to build this thing from the ground up. We'll start with the basics. What even is nutrition? Then we'll get into the essential nutrients, how our bodies use them, and then shift into how this all works in a real clinical setting. And we'll wrap it all up with a quick review of the key terms you'll definitely want to have locked down for your exams.
Right, so what are we really talking about when we say nutrition? Well, at its heart, nutrition is really the science of food. It's all about how food affects our bodies and influences our health. Everything from the cellular level right up to our day-to-day energy.
And now this is fascinating. Check out where our energy actually goes. Most people would guess that physical activity is the biggest energy hog, right? But look at that huge slice of the pie. The vast majority of our energy is used just for our resting metabolic rate. That's just the baseline energy your body needs to keep the lights on. Heart beating, lungs breathing, all that stuff. Physical activity is a distant second. And that tiny little sliver, that's the energy your body uses just to digest the food you eat.
All right, let's get into the big three nutrients that actually provide all that energy. We're talking about the macronutrients: carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids. You probably just call them fats. These are the fuel and the building blocks for our entire body. First up, we've got carbohydrates. Seriously, think of carbs as the body's premium, high-octane fuel. They are the main and the most easily digested source of energy. This is especially vital for your brain, which pretty much runs exclusively on glucose, a simple carb. And here's a super important role: protein sparing. If you've got enough carbs, your body won't have to break down valuable protein for fuel, and we'll circle back to why that's so important later. So, where do we get this awesome fuel? Well, you find it everywhere, really. In grains like bread and pasta, all kinds of delicious fruits, and of course starchy vegetables like potatoes and corn.
Next up, proteins. So if carbs are the fuel, you can think of proteins as the body's construction crew. They're the primary building blocks for, well, literally everything. From building and repairing muscle tissue to creating critical enzymes and hormones. They even help manage fluid in your body and can step in as a backup energy source if things get dire.
Okay, but here's the thing. Not all proteins are created equal. See, proteins are made of smaller units called amino acids, and it's really important to know the difference between complete proteins, which have all the essential amino acids our bodies can't make themselves, think meat, fish, soy, and incomplete proteins, which are missing a few. But you can combine incomplete sources like beans and rice to get the whole shebang.
Now, this is a huge concept for your exams, so really lean in here. Because protein has nitrogen in it, we can actually measure nitrogen balance to see what's going on in the body. A positive balance means you're building more than you're breaking down, which you'd see in someone who's growing or during pregnancy. But a negative balance, that's a red flag. It means the body is breaking down its own tissues, which happens with illness, malnutrition, or severe trauma like burns.
And finally, let's talk about lipids, or fats. They are super important for storing energy, insulation, all that good stuff. But the big takeaway here is understanding the difference between the two main cholesterol carriers. Just think of HDL as the heroes, the good guys who go around cleaning up excess cholesterol from your bloodstream. And LDL, well, they can be the villains because they can drop off cholesterol in your arteries, which leads to that dangerous plaque buildup.
Now, those big three macronutrients can't do their jobs all by themselves. No way. They need a massive support crew. And that crew is the micronutrients, vitamins and minerals, plus water, of course. They don't give us energy, but they are absolutely essential helpers for almost every single reaction in the body. And this slide right here shows a key difference you have got to know. On the left, you've got your fat-soluble vitamins. That's A, D, E, and K. The body can store these in your fat and liver. Now, that means you don't need them every single day, but it also means you can actually build up toxic levels if you overdo it. On the other hand, water-soluble vitamins like C and the B complex aren't stored. Your body just uses what it needs and gets rid of the rest, so you have to keep getting them daily. Okay, so we've covered all the players. Now let's talk about how the body actually puts them to work. And this all happens through a process called metabolism. All the chemical reactions that are constantly building things up and breaking things down. So metabolism really has two sides to it.
Think of it this way. Anabolism is like building a complex Lego set. Your body is using nutrients to build things, like new muscle. Catabolism is the opposite. It's like taking that Lego set apart, breaking down substances to release energy. And both of these are totally essential and are happening inside you right now.
All right, let's take all this theory and apply it to the real world, to a clinical setting. Because in a hospital, nutrition isn't just about general health, it's a critical, active part of a patient's treatment and their road to recovery. So, in a hospital, a patient's diet is often very carefully managed. Let's say someone is recovering from surgery. Their diet might progress through these stages. You'd start them on clear liquids, super easy to digest. Then, as their gut wakes up, you can move them to full liquids. And finally, you might go to a mechanical soft diet if they're having trouble chewing. It's all about getting them the nutrition they need safely.
But what if a patient can't eat normally at all? Well, we have options. On the left, you see enteral nutrition, or tube feeding. We use this when the gut works, but maybe the person can't swallow. A tube delivers a special liquid formula right into the stomach. But if the GI tract can't be used, then we turn to parenteral nutrition, like you see on the right. This bypasses the digestive system completely and delivers nutrients right into the bloodstream through an IV.
Okay, we have covered a ton of ground, so let's do a quick, rapid-fire review of the key terms you'll absolutely want to have on lock for your exams. These are the really high-yield concepts.
First up, gluconeogenesis. Just break the word down. Neo means new, and genesis means creation. This is the body's emergency plan for making new glucose when it's out of carbs. It's that process I hinted at earlier. It's a crucial survival tool, but it means you're breaking down valuable protein and fat for fuel, which is exactly why that protein sparing from carbs is so important.
And next is glycogenolysis. Now, this isn't creating new sugar. This is breaking down your stored sugar, called glycogen. The easiest way to think about this is like your body tapping into its short-term sugar savings account that it keeps in the liver and muscles. It's for a quick energy boost when you need it.
Okay, look. If you remember nothing else from this entire explainer, please remember this table. It summarizes the one core job of each major nutrient class: carbs for energy, protein for building, fats for storage, and then vitamins, minerals, and water as the essential helpers that make everything else work. This right here is your foundation.
And with that, we're at the end of our explainer. But really, this is just the beginning of your journey into clinical nutrition. So take a second and really think about this question. How are you going to take these building blocks and apply them to a real person to figure out their nutritional health and help them get better? That's where the real learning starts.